Hey,
Hey,
Giuliano.
Giuliano.
Yeah, us Italian girls from New Jersey are here with Let's Get Real.
Hmm.
Patty, we have a good topic today. Our title for our episode today is choosing both building a chiropractic practice and becoming a mom.
Amen. It's a lot. It's a lot, and but we can do it, and we want to do it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, yeah, we could do it. We want to do it, and we have doing it. There's women just like us who have been through it. That's why we're doing this podcast for you guys and girls out there is so you can lean on us, and hopefully this provides value for you. So Patty, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about your experience? You're a mom, and you run a really successful chiropractic practice. So what was it like?
So I started out in my own practice before I met Peter, before I was married. Well, not that you have to be married to have kids these days, but so when I met Peter, I mean, I wanted to start a family. I was 30 years old and just starting into my chiropractic career. And so I think that made it so much easier because I had a partner who was a chiropractor. But I will say this, it took us 3.5 years, almost 4 years actually, for it to finally happen. I mean, not that we weren't trying. We were trying every which way because I really, I really wanted
Lucky
it.
Peter.
And lucky Patty. So in retrospect, I want to say that I was really upset during those 3.5, 4 years. And then when it finally happened, it was like, oh, thank God. But when I look back, my firstborn was Katie, and Katie was and is a lot of energy, a lot of everything, a lot of need, more than I ever thought. And I had needs of my own that I wanted to practice. And I say to Peter, thank God Katie didn't come when we first met because I probably would have been out of practice because
Mhm.
it took so much to be her mother because I wanted to be, the perfect mom, the best mom. And so that takes you on a very different trajectory other than I want to be a chiropractor and I'm going to have somebody else take care of my kids. I didn't ever want to go down that road. And
Yeah.
that is a road that women can go down because I have friends who have done it. They will hire a nanny or they will, find whatever way they can be in practice. And I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be a chiropractor. So there was really this pull. How about you? I mean, it's like I don't want to talk about how easy or hard it was because I had Peter. So the practice
Right.
was covered, but we want to talk about women who may not have a spouse who's in the
Yeah.
office who can cover for them while they're taking care of the babies for the first few months or so or however long they want to kind of focus on baby before they go back into practice because we know many women who have done that. We know many women who have kind of passed their kids along to daycare and nannies and all that and gone right back into the office and
Mhm.
and we know women who have gone out of practice and have never recovered and never gone back.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
what about you?
So, well, wait, before I talk about me, can you just touch on like how did you resolve in your mind that feeling, like two things, I guess here is how did you resolve in the mind the feeling of like in your mind that like everything like I have to be perfect? Because I think a lot of women feel like that. I think they feel like that pressure to be a perfect mom, be a perfect wife if you're married, be a perfect entrepreneur, be a perfect doctor and a caretaker. Like, how did you resolve that in your mind?
Um, it was hard. I don't think I resolved it until I wrote my book. Really, how many years later? Um, so, um, so I hit rock bottom about 6 months after Katie was born. And
Mhm.
Peter came upstairs and said to me, I think you need to go back in the office. And I said, no, I need a freaking shower. And I need to sleep. So that kind of pushed me back into the office. And thank God, thank God,
Mhm.
the office was my refuge. It was
Mhm.
my space to be able to go into and serve where I was acknowledged and serve where people loved what I was doing. It was unconditional. It's like Dr. Patti could do no wrong. And I had a child who I couldn't like you know, get to be, calm and to give my love that I wanted to give to her, and I couldn't get through. I couldn't get through. Well, now, we realize she's neurospicy, that's the term we like to use. And but it took me years for that perfection, that it was hard. It's stressful to be perfect.
Right.
And I think a lot of women do try to that. And my generation, especially because I was of the generation where you wanted equality with men. And so
Mhm.
we left our, our homes. My
Mhm.
mom stayed home. Well, my mom stayed home till my sister was 5, and then she went to work. And
Right.
so yeah, I think it's a challenge to try to be perfect, and I still try, and so I say it's a journey. It's a journey for
Mhm.
women to find that they don't have to be perfect, and that your child. I think that our children are most important, and practice is second. And so we're going to talk about how you can manage that, how you can be a mom, still be in practice, and be happy. I was happy.
Yeah.
I was happiest. Oh, I hate to say it. I was happiest in the office. It was just easier, you know? Did you have the
Yeah.
same experience?
Yeah, I had a similar experience. And this I think is what makes you and I such great partners here. And that is that I actually did go the nanny route. So when Cole was first born, um we started with a nanny, but it took us a few tries to find the right nanny. I think that that's the key. Like for those of you out here that are watching this podcast and maybe you were like deciding, should I go the nanny route? Should I go to the private daycare route? Do I go to the public daycare route? I think a nanny option for us was wonderful once we found our once we found the nanny. It took us like just like with like team members in the office, it took us like two or three nannies that weren't so great. They were just like plopping Cole in front of the TV and just like doing their homework and stuff like that. But once we found a nanny, Miss Lauren, and Miss Lauren is actually with me today, as a matter of fact. She's still
Wow.
like she's our house manager today. But Miss Lauren raised the boys for about 8 years, and she became like a second or a surrogate mother to them. They love her dearly, and she loves them dearly, and even to this day, like she went to their high school graduation, she shows up at, holiday parties, she's at their birthday parties, like we gift back and forth, and there really is a true like love and connection between our family and Miss Lauren. And I don't know if we just got lucky. I don't know if we were diligent in our like interviewing process and really being picky about who we picked or who we chose to help raise our family. And that word help is like, that's the key word there, is because I think a lot of times as women, we feel guilty. We feel like, oh, we're pointing our children off or we're like switching them off so that we can fulfill our dreams as chiropractors. And that's not really it at all. Like our children are the people that we love the most on the planet. And it's more about just being okay with yourself that you're never going to be perfect. I learned that through faith, right? I because I was always the perfectionist, like even growing up, I was the people pleaser, the mom and dad pleaser. I wanted to please everybody. And then through my faith, I learned that, we're not perfect. God didn't create us to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect. No matter how hard you try, you're never going to be perfect, right? You just do the best that you can with what you have. And
Mm.
so for me, when I started to look at the nanny thing as like, this is a person not raising my children. This is a person who's helping me and Joe raise our children together.
Yeah,
And that mindset shift was a huge help for me.
that's important. That's a really great point about the mindset, because we can just beat ourselves up, and
Yeah.
so you looked at it, it was a partnership, and
Yeah.
so however someone wants to develop a partnership, whether they want to go that route or,
Mhm.
nowadays we have grandparents taking care of the kids a couple days a week, whatever. I
Yeah.
hear it all the time. Out in at Life West, there are women that go to school there who have families,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
they, they have um, friends that help out. They have parents that help out, in-laws that help out, and
Mhm.
they're happy to do that because they see that these women are going into a career of service and they want to
Mhm.
serve them. So yeah, my parents weren't
Yeah.
nearby. I was in Boston and they were in New Jersey. So they came up every 5 or 6 weeks, but it was quick. It was
Yeah.
a weekend, so that wasn't really a lot of help. And Peter's parents, they didn't they weren't really keen to take care of babies. They were afraid. I think his
Right.
mother was afraid that she might do something wrong, in
Mhm.
the whole in-law thing, but I loved them dearly. And but it was challenging. It was challenging. And
Yeah.
even friends, most of our friends were chiropractors. So who
Mhm.
do you get to come in? I did have some non-chiropractor friends who did come when I was so sick at one point after I had Christopher, my second, and they came in and nursed him for me so that, he could eat and be
Right.
nourished.
Right.
So there's another point to have good friends and have friends who share your values within your sphere. And they don't always have to be chiropractors, but usually it's the chiropractors who have the same shared values. But we had
Yeah.
some really close friends who are still friends now who we were able to call on in times of need, and we helped each other.
Yeah. It's so important. That old saying, that old cliche saying, it takes a village,
Really?
right?
Yes.
And yeah, and to your point, also with the grandparents, before we found Miss Lauren, while we were kind of going through our nannies and going through the interview process, my mom watched Cole. And to this day, Cole's 19 years old and they have a beautiful relationship. Him and my mom are so close. And even at 19, like he'll have the option to go to a party or something in college and he'll be like, no, can I come home? I want to take grandma and pop to dinner. And
Oh,
and they just have this like beautiful, like connected, they're like soul connected, my mom and Cole. It's like really, really strong bond. So there's definitely something to be said with like being okay with letting the village help you raise your child.
right. So for those women out there who are listening and wondering what they will do, I will just say you don't know yet. You don't
Mhm.
know until it happens. And
Yeah.
then just be flexible, be open, be kind to yourself, surround yourself with people of like mind, like I said before, and get to know other women chiropractors in your area because so we had a friend Zelena who husband was not a chiropractor and Zelena had a really nice practice right down the street from us and
Mhm.
she was pregnant with twins and we were taking care of her. And a group of us decided that after she had the baby, we said, listen, take a month off and we will come and take care of your practice for you. So, three of us, we took shifts during the week. She consolidated her patients into I think 2 days in the week. And I took one day, another friend took another day, and then we just kind of shifted off for a month total. And then after that month, she brought her nanny in, and the nan and she had a room upstairs, so she would nurse the twins in between patients.
Mhm.
So, folks, it can be done, you
Yeah.
know, just have that village, have them prepared before you have the baby, make sure you
Yeah.
plan for that, and then, decide how you want to go. You may start with a nanny and say, I don't want to do this. And,
Yes.
you have to punt and you know, find another way. But certainly there are women's groups out here. So we're there. So we're doing the podcast, right? But we are
Right.
available for phone calls, right? Somebody needs
Mhm.
help. They can call either one of us, and I can name probably 50 other women that you could call. You've got the League of Chiropractic Women, which we
Yep.
started back in 2012, which has always talked about this topic. And then you have women DCs, and you have women in chiropractic. There are so many groups out there that you can rely upon for some wonderful help, suggestions, advice, and who knows? You need
Yeah.
somebody, and they'll run to help you and support you.
Yes, absolutely. And chiropractors are just so loving like that. Like I know it's funny because sometimes we like, especially you and I, we get like upset when people are like fighting within our profession. I know
Yeah.
that's a sticking point for both of us, but in the same token, have you ever noticed how like chiropractors will help other chiropractors? Like I don't know,
Oh
I've
yeah.
always saw that. I always felt like I actually had an incident that I want to share with you guys. Actually, when Cole was born. But before we do that, Patty, I just want to give us the 15-minute time check.
Okay.
15-minute point already.
Yeah.
But you talked about being flexible, and you also talked about having the capability of pivoting. And I think that that's an important point here for these young women who want to have a child, especially if you want to have a child, open a practice. I think, and especially if you are a single mom or plan on being a single mom, the key here is to have a plan, um, and also be flexible and be ready to pivot. And so, we talk about perfectionism. I wrote this whole like plan for like, me from like beginning to end, who I was going to hire, what that was going to look like, what the training was going to be like. I mean, I had day-to-day trainings for this guy. Like, no, I was not fooling around. And so I hired, here's the story I wanted to share with you, talking about being
Uh-huh.
flexible.
Mhm.
Both of us, by the way, guys, those ladies that are listening, so both Patty and I both have neurospicy children. So that's one of the things that Patty and I have in common. And that's something that like you definitely have to learn, how to pivot, because we weren't expecting that, right, Patty? Like who was expecting that, right?
Yeah.
So this is my story. This was Cole's birthing story. So I hired a chiropractor, and he was a phenomenal chiropractor. He was in practice for himself and as an associate for many, many years. He was like a little bit older than me. And I hired him to cover my maternity leave for the practice. I hired him to cover my practice for my maternity leave. And I think I was planning on taking like 6 to 8 weeks for maternity leave or something like that. And this guy was awesome. Like he loved our patients loved him. He was a great adjuster. And his story when we went through the interview process was that he owned a practice. He went through a nasty divorce. Through the divorce, he lost everything. And his mom and dad had a home down here in Long Beach Island that was able to stay in for free while he rebuilt his life after his divorce. Because I asked him, I said, you're a great chiropractor. You've been in practice for years.
What's your
Why are you
story?
picking up the maternity stint here? Yeah, like you should be running your own practice. You're bright, you're smart, whatever. So that was his story, and that made sense to me. So I hired him for my maternity coverage. And as far as I was concerned, what he told me was that he was, starting over, and that he just wanted this short stint to be in practice, live on LBI until he got his ducks back in a row. I was like, okay, that's great. So he comes in, everybody loves him. The guy's always on time, never misses a day. Like, once again, great chiropractor. And I go through my pregnancy, and here we are, we're working side by side. And this is like just the practice is like just starting to take off too. We were up to like at this point, like maybe like 250 office visits a week. So the practice was like on its upslope. And I get all the way, I was due on May 1st. And I finished the week before I was due. I finished adjusting. I was like really big and I was like ready to go. It was like a ton of pressure, right? So that Friday, I said to my team and to this covering doctor, I said, I'm not coming in on Monday. I'm gonna start my maternity coverage on Monday, and the baby's due on Sunday. And so they were like, okay, doc, great. The covering doctor was like, I got this, no problem. The patients were like, go get him, doc. They were all excited to have a new baby. And so Monday morning rolls around and I sleep in, and I finally wake up, I go to the bathroom, and sure enough, my mucus plug falls out. And I'm like, this is perfect. This is perfect timing, right? I'm gonna have this baby in like 48 hours. Here it comes, right? So all that's all like good. I go out, I'm eating my protein, right? And my phone starts ringing off the hook, and it's my CA, and she's like, Dr. Nicole, I don't have a doctor here. I go, what do you mean you don't have a doctor here? She goes, Dr. Mark never showed up this morning. I go, what do you mean Dr. Mark never showed up this morning? She goes, okay, I have 20 people sitting in the waiting room right now to be adjusted, and I have no doctor. Dr. Mark never showed up. He's not answering his phone. It's going right to voicemail. We've got a problem. What do you want me to do? So I said, well, there must be some kind of emergency, because he's been training, he's been in the practice now for about 90 days, never missed a day of work, never came in a minute late, like pretty organized guy. This is like not like him. So I said, send everybody home. Let's shut down for the morning and let me find out what happened to Dr. Mark. So she sends everybody home, and I'm like calling now because I have his contacts. I'm calling his like emergency contact, which was his mom and dad, his other emergency contact, which was the woman he was seeing. I'm trying to call him, and I'm not getting any answers. Nobody's answering anything. And so we ended up closing the whole day on Monday. And then exactly what you had said, my chiropractic friends came to the rescue, because I put a few phone calls out, told people what was happening. And I had I had a friend cover shifts just like you. Like, one of them covered a morning shift, one of them covered afternoon shifts. And so I got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning all or not at that time. I don't think we practiced on Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I got covered by friends in our profession. They didn't even charge me. They didn't even charge me for like a covering day or anything like that.
Right,
They just
right.
showed up and took care of my people.
Us too. We never
Yeah.
charge. Yeah,
Yeah. They just showed up and helped out. So
love
that
it.
gave me a couple of days to figure out what was going on, and I couldn't even step back in because my mucus plug already fell out. And I remember my coach at that time, Dr. John Madeira. I love Dr. John. He was like my favorite. He's like my favorite coach. Probably shouldn't say that because I've had a bunch of coaches, but he's awesome.
I
Um,
won't tell.
Podcast, people were to hear it. But no, Dr. John is just like such a godly, like lovely chiropractor. And he really like has helped me out. So I remember calling him like in tears, like, John, what do I do? And he goes, well, one thing you don't want to do, he's like, don't go in. He's like, because he goes, it's not going to go over well for business if your water breaks on a patient. So that was his advice. So I
Oh,
didn't go in.
lovely.
Um, but I would have.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then, anyway, long story short, Tuesday rolls around and I still haven't heard from Dr. Mark. And finally, I remember like I was sitting on my counter, and Joe was standing kind of in between my legs, and I was sobbing. And I'm like, I'm going to lose this practice. I'm like, I don't have anybody to cover. Like, what am I going to do when I have this baby? Like, I'm going to lose this practice. And all of a sudden, I got a phone call right when I was sobbing to Joe. and it was the covering doctor's girlfriend. And she said, "Hey," she goes, "I had to call you." She goes, "I know the position that you're in." She goes, "Dr. Mark didn't want me to call you because he's embarrassed, but he was indicted over the weekend
Oh,
for
gee.
Medicare fraud that was committed in a practice that he was associating in over a decade ago."
Oh, no.
Hmm.
You never know.
Yep.
Wow.
So
So
then,
he was in jail?
yeah, so he's done. He was in
Wow.
the orange jumpsuit, as us Italians would say.
God.
Yeah. So now I'm like, now what do I do? I have no doctor. So by the grace of God, this thought popped into my head that said, call Jody. So I have a friend, her name is Jody. She's a chiropractor. You might have met her, Patty. She came to New Beginnings a few times. She's a New Jersey chiropractor. She's also an awesome chiropractor. And this thought just came into my head, call Jody. So I called Jody and I said, Jode, this is what just happened. She goes, listen, I just interviewed a girl that just graduated from, is either Life or Palmer. And she goes, I absolutely love this girl. She graduated top of her class. She's valedictorian. She's very bright. And and guess what? She can actually adjust coming out of school. She goes, but because so Jody was pregnant. Jody was pregnant too, but she was 6 months behind me. So Jody goes, well, I'm going to hire her, but for my maternity leave, but I'm not ready for her yet. So Jody goes, why don't you take her for 6 months? And in 6 months, I'll be ready for her. And that's what we did. I interviewed her on Friday morning. I hired her 12 o'clock on Friday afternoon. I warned her. I said, look, you're going to show up on Monday and you're going to have to see a bunch of patients with zero training. The only training that I can offer you is my CA. My CA was good. She was strong.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another thing I would recommend you guys is having a strong team, creating a
Yeah.
strong foundation on your team. So my CA was strong. So that's all the training that she had.
Yep.
And I left the meeting by 2 o'clock, Patty, on Friday. After I hired her, I started having contractions. By Friday night, my contractions were a minute apart. I ended up, Joe and I had our babies. Our baby's in the hospital. We have hospital births. Although, if I was to do it now, I would certainly have pushed more with him on the home. I always wanted a home birth. Um, and he was not 100% supportive on that. So I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't be like, all
Yeah.
right,
No,
I'm
no,
I'm
no.
on my own now. It's like, so we did
No.
the
Smart lady.
hospital thing, which I actually do regret now, but that's a whole nother story. And they sent me home Friday night because I wasn't dilating. And I think because of all the stress, I wasn't dilating. And long story short, I was in labor from Friday afternoon and I finally had Cole Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. on April 30th. And he was born blue. Yet we had complications because of such a long um because of such a
Labor.
long
Yeah. Labor.
yeah,
And
labor.
delivery.
Yeah. So he was born blue and we thought we lost him, but we didn't. He was alive and but he definitely but that's what contributed to his neuro I love your word neurospiciness.
Neurospiciness. Yeah.
Neurospicy and that's
Wow.
and so it's like it's fascinating, how we go through all these things and I like to share it. It's like not a great story, but in a way it is a great story because it's a story about like how flexibility and just it's never going to be perfect. Like
Yeah.
there's never going to be the perfect time to open a practice. There's never going to be a perfect time to hire that coach. There's never going to be a perfect time to have a baby. There's always going to be something that your brain is going to want to stop you because your brain is meant to protect you. It's like your protective, it's your protective organism
Right.
or
Right.
organ, I should say, not organism, organ. The brain wants to protect. And so this was like a tremendous lesson for me in faith.
Yeah.
And
So
that's all I have.
faith and trust. And I
Mhm.
guess that goes along with faith, to trust that everything is going to happen the way it happens. And we can say it's designed like that, it's a plan. whatever it is, and be able to be flexible, be able to, and know that look at you had so many blessings, so many angels
Mhm.
that came to you. And I guess that's we could probably end this on there because we could go into another whole topic about what do you do from there um and other possibilities of challenges that might happen.
Well, why
And
don't we do that on our next episode? What do we
let's
do?
do
We'll
it.
just call it What Do We Do From There?
What do we do from there? Okay. I love it. Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's perfect timing, Patty, because we're already at our 30-minute mark.
Okay. All right, there we go.
Us
Perfect.
Jersey girls, we talk a lot.
Hey, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff that people can use, and
Mhm.
again, they can they can use us for support too. And if we can't
Absolutely.
help them, we certainly know enough other women who can come to the rescue. So, and that's a point that you did call. You called people,
Mhm.
and look what opened up for you. The
Yeah.
biggest blessing you could ever get. So. Hey, I just
Yeah.
have one question. What year was Cole born?
Cole was born in 2006.
Oh, oh, okay. Yeah, because my son Christopher was born in April of 1989. Katie was born in 87 in May. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah, a little bit older.
yeah, they're a little older. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend. So
All right.
I'm gonna go drive down this bridge here now. For those of you that can't see, I have the Golden Gate Bridge behind me. But I'm on the other coast right now. I'm on the East Coast with you, Nicole. And um, thank you
I
everybody
love
for
that.
listening. And just keep the faith.
Love it. All right, you guys, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Love you all.
Love you. Bye.